din ako.
Go.
Just 1 minute. Okay.
Go.
And then click on the on my name on your camera. There's 3 buttons on the top. You can change your name.
Oh, where I can't see it.
On top. There's like a 3 button.
Okay.
So there's rename.
Where, Coach? I don't find it. I can't see it.
Wala bang rename?
Meron.
Okay.
Here na, I'm changing it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, there you go. So you're back to Rick Olivares.
All right, cool.
For some reason, ako ba yung PLDT? 3 days pa daw magagawa yung internet. I'm using phone.
All right, are we live? We can start?
Broadcast. Yes, we're live. There's attendees coming in already.
All right.
Let's go with this.
Okay.
All right. Let's start?
Okay, go.
Okay. Good evening, Philippines, and welcome to this special edition of Bleachers Brew Presents. Tonight, we're talking to a very special group from the Philippine Wrestling Revolution. And I'm not going to make any bones about how I feel about this group, and I'm actually a massive fan of these guys. And I hope that they continue to kick everyone's butt so they can stay champions and all that. Sorry, guys. But right now, our guests are none other than MSG. These guys are killers. These guys are champs. And I'm going to ask them one by one to introduce themselves, beginning with the masked man known as Sandata.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandata, the masked man of MSG.
Ibang klaseng mask niya.
Ibang klaseng mask ngayon kasi hindi dala yung akin.
All right, the impresario of MSG, Mr. C himself.
Yep, Stan C here. You can call me Mr. C or Stan, however you like. It's too hot para magsuot nung usually na sinusuot ko na long sleeves and the waistcoat, and I'm frankly too lazy to put on a tie. So what I did was I just put on the MSG shirt for branding.
Nice.
And there, that's as good as it gets in terms of like my normal look.
Man, I gotta get me one of those, man. Just let me know how much.
Yeah, I have one with your name on it.
Awesome, but dude, double XL, lapad ko na eh. All right, the champ is here, Mr. Chris Panzer.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Chris. You can call me, I go by Chris Panzer. And Mr. C, ako na nagbihis para sa'yo. I got you.
Yes. Appreciate it.
My man.
Champ's gotta be well dressed, you know. And last but not least, the man they call Main Maxx. How's it going, bro? Back. All right.
PWR tag.
Yan. Medyo mysterious si Max ngayong gabi, no? Mysterious lighting. Parang may pagka-X-Files yung mood natin. All right. I want to thank you all and PWR, the people behind PWR, Jan, Rafa, everyone who helped make this happen. I can't say I'm the biggest fan because I although I'm a fan of PWR, because of my crazy schedule, I only watch it on and off, but I really love it. And as much as possible, I'm going to try to watch every event from here on. And this group, MSG, is really special to me. I feel that they could be the NWO of PWR and of Philippine professional wrestling. There's something about them, a certain gravitas, that even the other guys, they want to beat because they have that X factor. Eh. Am I sucking on too much? Am I kissing ass too much? But then, when you're MSG, that's the stuff that you put on food and all that stuff. It could mean Madison Square Garden. It could mean a lot of other things. But why did you come up with that acronym before we go any further?
The credit has to go to my girlfriend. Her name is Ariane, and we were just hanging out one night, and I was thinking of a name that would be catchy enough for the group because there were already plans to put a group together. And at the time, it wasn't even supposed to be a heel group or a villainous faction, right? So we were just coming up with names that would stick. And then she just thought, oh, why not MSG? Just focus on you being Chinoy, make a pun out of that. And sabi ko, what would MSG stand for? And then she said, I don't know, the Mr. C group. And then the of talents part just came at the end kasi nga, the Mr. C group of what? Diba? Like it's usually the so-and-so group of companies. So I was like, okay, the Mr. C group of talents, MSG. I guess that works. And then nung una, I was still kind of doubting it, but as soon as I said it, and then like a couple shows later, this girl at the bar who I didn't really know went up to me and said, MSG. And that's when I knew na, okay, this sticks. This is good.
It does stick. But before we go any further, how have you guys been during this lockdown? Let's start with you, Sandata.
I've been stuck here in the south. I'm from Laguna. I'm billed as from being from Laguna. I'm stuck here with my family. I'm thankful naman to be with them during this hard time. But I'm kind of away from all my wrestling things. I don't even have my gear, as you can see right now. I don't have the title that Main Maxx is displaying. We're one half of the tag team champions. Despite the challenges, I think naman that it's necessary then to keep ourselves safe from coronavirus, right? So getting by, I think I'm getting by then.
Max, how about you? Any fears that you've had during this lockdown? You know, there's so much uncertainty, but how are you? What have you been thinking?
Yeah, thankfully, sa barangay namin is zero positive pa rin sa COVID. And sobrang swerte lang dyan. But yun nga, medyo nervous din kasi medyo matatanda na yung mga parents ko. So,
But they're okay. They're okay, Max. They're all good, Max. They're okay? Your parents?
yep.
All right. Chris, how about you, man? What's been going on? What have you been doing any reflecting and thinking during this lockdown? Because, you know, there's just so much time. You have so much time.
Yes, exactly. I've been doing a lot of reflecting and call it maybe self-improvement, like improve on the things that I'm not really, into, such as I've been reading a lot of books lately, just to train the mind. At the same time, I'm the guy who's doing the errands around here. So medyo takot din ako pag lumalabas ako. But yeah, kailangan safety lang lagi na sa isip and be vigilant.
Right. How about you, Stan? How's it?
I've been stuck at home then, kind of like what Sandata said. I've only really been out like once or twice since ECQ began. Ganun din, a lot of apprehension, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. I'm not a big fan of how everything's being handled, but what can we do, right? So we try to find ways to keep our heads above water. It's all we can do.
Right. You talked about, all of you have either mentioned fear or alluded to it. I'm going to go now into the wrestling aspect of what you guys do. You know, we know it's sports entertainment, but may fear factor din yan because a million of things can go wrong once you're inside that ring. I'd like to ask all of you, what match has been talagang put that fear of God in you? Like, oh my God, medyo is this getting out of hand or whatever? Or did something actually happen in that ring? Probably a move that kind of hurt you or hurt yung opponent mo. Let's start with you, Sandata.
Okay. Thankfully naman, I haven't had a match na put me in real danger, as you say. Pero I have had a match in which things have broken down beyond my control. Like I would say my very first singles match in PWR kasi I debuted as a tag team wrestler with a guy named Peter Versosa. And when we broke up, our first single match was against each other. And at that time, parang we didn't have too much experience and we kind of lost what we were doing along the way. And parang nawala kami ng chemistry and all that. And we just had to soldier on and finish the match despite, losing ourselves and where we were in the match. I've had other spots where I got a little hurt, but not as bad as some of the other people here, I would say, when you get to them.
How about you, Chris? Your last outing, that was against Robbie, right? That was Robbie?
Yes, against Robbie Eagles. Mm-hmm.
That was a brutal match. And watching it unfold, I was like, holy shit, like, wow. Both of these guys
Yes.
are getting their asses kicked in the ring. Everyone's bringing, the two of you brought out the best in each other. But I was worried, man, because like you were getting banged up too. What was going on? What was running through your mind during that match?
Well, let's say I got a taste of the NJPW style in the flash, but before that, 2 days before, I had high fever. As in
Wow.
my body was broken down. It was 50-50 that I was going to wrestle that day because I came from London for training, and the whole month I was just sick because of the weather and just doing training a lot. So 2 days prior, what my girlfriend did, she just took me in and just took care of me the whole time. So on that day, I was 100%, but it's kumbaga, yung nabibinat ka, that feeling is creeping up to you. But anyway, wrestling against Robbie, he, he's the veteran here, so he really took care of me out there.
Right.
But but it was still a brutal match. What you
Yeah.
see is what you get.
Exactly. Diba? Stan, as you were watching that match with between Chris and Robbie, what was running through your mind? Because I was watching you from afar, and there was that look of concern in your face. Can you run us through your thoughts and everything during that match?
Yeah, everything was very one-track mind for me. It was basically don't screw up. I just really wanted to make sure I hit the right cues. I was there when I needed to be there. It wasn't really for out of a fear na ma-embarrass ko yung sarili ko, but more of I didn't want to disappoint Robbie Eagles, right? You're put in you're put in that spot in the main event, and you have an international guest like Robbie Eagles, and he was so enthusiastic with trying to get as much of us involved as possible. If ako yung patalo, sobrang malaking kahihiyan yun. So I just didn't want to screw up. Like that's where the look of concern was coming from.
How do you maintain that focus? Because it's easy to get caught up watching these high-flying athletes, by the action, and the crowd is really into that. How do you maintain that focus, Stan?
I don't know. I try to keep myself distracted by interacting with people. It really helps that I just go out there and people already start booing or cussing at me. I just find certain things to focus on. Like let's say when we're out there, nagugutom ako and I don't know why. So I look for people in the crowd na kumakain ng chichirya or whatever, and I actually scoop up some chichirya and I put it in my mouth. And like technically, it's a dickish thing to do, but because I'm a villain, I can get away with it, right? So things like that, or I'll find somebody with a stuffed toy and I'll grab the stuffed toy and I'll like kick it to the opposite end of the arena. Those little things to get my mind off of the anxiety, it actually helps.
Max, you yourself got caught in a brutal street fight. Your thoughts, and I know you guys prepare for this, but are you confident when you enter that ring, Max? How do you banish those fears?
Yeah, very confident na. Matagal na rin naman plano na to have that street fight.
Mahina yung audio ni Max.
Yun niya, parang a series of matches. So, and parang final, parang finale.
Max, you'll have to speak a little louder, closer to the microphone. All right. Sorry, you were saying, Max?
Alright.
Max, you were saying? Sorry.
Alright.
Ayun. You were saying earlier, hindi ka ba natatakot?
Pinlano naman yun.
Okay. We're also having technical difficulties on Max's end. For those watching, we want to apologize for that, but just bear with us.
Hindi naman gaano kasi marami na akong history of injuries before. So,
All right. Okay, so Max is having technical problems on his part. We'll have to move on. Okay, you mentioned earlier, Stan, about MSG. Is that easy? I mean, for all four of you, I'm going to ask all four of you. it's not easy to pull off being a heel. It's not. I mean, everyone wants to be a face, di ba? But why? I don't know if it's in the designs of PWR. Does it take a certain? Did you ask for it? Did you volunteer for it? How did it come about? Let's start with you, Stan.
I actually think it's easier to be a bad guy because when you look at the way that you behave in society, diba, in real life, it's easier for people to have a bad impression of you than it is for people to have a good impression of you. Like, it takes so much more effort to be nice. More often than not, when you do something, there's always that fear that it's probably going to get taken the wrong way. And if it gets taken the wrong way, then in the other person's eyes, ikaw na yung kontrabida. So in that same light, as a performer, it's actually easier to be hated. So prior to MSG, I spent my entire time in PWR as a good guy character, and I hated it. I felt very hamstrung and held back. So I was really just waiting for yung creative direction to take me into the dark side. And when the opportunity came, I was like, yeah, let's do it. I hope it happens sooner than later. I wasn't supposed to turn heel until mid-2019. So buti na lang napaaga, we fast-tracked things. Sometime in late October, the three of us, Max, Sandata, and myself, we all turned heel together. And it felt so liberating because we could just go out there and just revel in the hate. Personally, it's also easy to hate me because of my background. Like, I come in, I look smug, the way that I move. So yung may angas, that Xaverian angas, because I come from Xavier, and like when we come into the room, we're very hateable. Xaverians are heels by nature. So like, I'm not even gonna apologize for it. If you're a Xaverian and you're hating me right now, you better look at yourself in the mirror because you're probably a heel in real life.
Stan, do you think you can tell that to Isaac Go?
Oh yeah, I'll tell Isaac Go, I'll tell Jeron Teng, I'll tell Gab Banal, every Xavier who's in basketball is probably a heel to someone in their batch.
All right, Sandata, you guys, so you turned heel. Take us through that. Take the fans through it. Was it, sabi ni Stan, liberating it? But for you, take us through that.
Before I start, I'm gonna have to apologize for my dogs.
No.
Barking in the background. They're being heels right now. I don't know why. Unless you want to come back to me later.
No.
Okay, am I coming in just fine? Like, am I?
Quiet them first. We can jump off to wala si Max. We can jump to Chris.
Yeah. Maybe Panzer can go muna while I shut these guys up.
Chris, you can, if you can answer that.
Yes. I'm like the longest reigning good guy face in PWR. It's like 5 years of being a baby face. And for me, it's more challenging to be a good guy. Kasi, I don't know, I just tend to overthink and just overthink of how to be a good guy, whereas I'm just being a hero right now. I'm just being, all natural.
Mm-hmm.
It just comes off easier. And I get to interact with the crowd more. I get to, play with the crowd even better.
During the last PWR event, I remember it was over. I was interviewing you and I was taking a picture with you. And I remember someone went up to Stan and said, Mr. C. Then Stan looks at him, yes, and he says, I hate you. And to be honest, I don't know if he really felt that way, as in he hated Stan, or it was just an offhanded remark. I have no idea. Then Stan just looked at him and said, okay, thank you. Then he walked away, nonchalantly walked away. And that was probably the most impressive comeback ever outside the ring. Yeah. But the question therefore is, before we get to Max, Max, standby ka lang dyan. I asked this Stan offline. Aren't you afraid that sometimes some people may take the heel persona too seriously? Like once you're outside the ring, that some people tend to take it really seriously. Have you ever any encounters like that, Chris? I think we're having Chris. You there, Chris? I don't know that. Stan, probably you. Let's start with you.
Yeah. My dad actually used to tell me about that. he would say na, oh, you better not go too far, don't cross the line kasi baka baka ma-attack ka or whatever. And frankly, the only time that I ever felt like there could be backlash was probably earlier in that February show that you caught. When I was in the ring with these guys and I was making those jokes about Kobe Bryant. Kasi I think that was probably the loudest reaction I'd ever gotten. And to the point na na-feel ko yumanig yung ring, yumanig yung arena because of how loud the boos were. Yeah. So that was the one time I felt like I might get attacked. But other than that, it's kind of part of it. Like there are legendary stories of wrestlers in Mexico where the fans would piss in cups and chuck them at the wrestlers, or they would throw coins or pebbles at them as they're making their way out of the arena. Dito naman, thankfully, the fans are smart enough not to do that. So I guess that also justifies the lack of fear.
All right. Okay, since Chris is not there, how about you, Max? Ano yung, di ka ba kinakabahan minsan that some people might take it a little bit too seriously, you guys being heels? I think Max is still having those technical problems. Max, narinig mo kami, Max? Max? Where's Max based anyway? Is he here in NCR? Or
yes.
Out?
Yep. Yeah, he's from QC. Yeah.
Hey, Max. Max.
Rinig na?
Yan.
Hello?
Yan.
Yan.
Narinig mo yung tanong?
Okay na.
Yes, yeah, go.
Yup, yun nga. And at the end of the day kasi, we're just playing the character din naman eh. So, and yun nga, thankfully for the fans na naiintindihan nila yun na we're just being the bad guy. And for me personally, medyo mahirap sa akin maging good guy kasi medyo malaki ako. And yun nga, parang kailangan ako ng bubuli sa ring. So, nasanay na lang din ako. Nasanay na lang din ako maging bad guy sa ring. And yun nga, parang ako personally, mas confident ako na gano'n na ako yung bad guy sa ring kasi nakakapag-tell ako ng story sa ring eh. Kung paano ko binubugbog yung kalaban ko, being the bad guy. Mga gano'n.
You guys, when you play the heel, do you draw from something inside you, a past experience that you draw out of you? Like, malabas ko nga ito, nakakabwisit to di ba? Sandata, meron bang ganun para sa'yo?
Yeah. Can I go back to the first question you asked?
Go. Please.
Yeah. You mentioned before that people might not like playing the bad guys and they would prefer playing the good guys. I think if you ask a lot of us in the back, in the locker room, I think they would say na they would prefer playing the bad guy because it's so easy to piss people off, actually. When you ask me, ako naman, when you ask me if there is something na pinaghuhugutan ng bad guy personality from, yeah, meron. It's basically me, for me, it's seeing how much I can make an ass out of myself and, trying to rile people up by being exuberant, by being snarky, by basically being angas even, being gago, kumbaga, sa kanila. I think that's where all of us get it from then.
Nice. Okay. How involved are you? I don't know how it works for PWR. How involved are you with the storylines that you find yourselves embroiled in? Are you active in the developing of these storylines, Stan?
So PWR actually has a creative team.
Yes.
That comes up with yung direction, the stories, and all that. But they do talk to us din naman and say na we're gonna get into a storyline with this person or with this group, and then from there it becomes collaborative. So usually there's a group chat between kami and then whoever we're feuding against, and then the creative team is also involved in that chat, and we just bounce around ideas. I'm gonna give a shout out to the Naughty Boys who've really brought out the best heel versions of ourselves. Kasi it was that feud with the Naughty Boys that we had between late 2018 and like mid 2019. So that was like a good 7-8 month feud that really brought out a lot of the characters and the different layers of ourselves. Sila kasi, they're not your stereotypical good guys either. They're trolls. They're funny. Parang class clown. Yun yung appeal nila. And then so they made us look like the straight man to their parang pagka-foil, right? And because they're very creative and they have all these off-the-wall ideas, we're able to just bounce off of that and come up with rebuttals. So it becomes a ping pong then between both stables, and like that's how we were able to really maximize yung story that we were trying to tell.
Okay. Having watched heel groups, WCW, WWE, usually after a while there's a falling out between the members. So how do you keep from being those stereotypical teams that break up, they start beating up each other, that. And I know that PWR is trying to push the envelope here. But do you see MSG staying strong for the next couple of years, building its ranks like the NWO or something? Paano ba yan? Any input? Anything we can look forward to?
Yeah, I think with PWR kasi we don't really have weekly shows unlike Monday Night Raw sa WWE or Monday Nitro in WCW or AEW Dynamite, right? Like we don't have those weekly shows, so our stories are really limited to yung monthly shows that we used to have before the pandemic and social media. So there isn't that pressure na, we have to make this next move and make that move. Like from my standpoint, we're just getting started. So I don't even want to think about, are they gonna break up? Sino yung Justin Timberlake ng grupo nila? I don't even want to think about that.
Right. Very interesting point that you make. We'll answer a few questions here. Si Kavan Chu is asking, will MSG travel to Singapore pro wrestling as a faction and represent the Philippines? Any of you guys can answer.
If they would have us, sure. Why not, right? I think we're all, when everything goes back to normal, whenever that is, right? If they would ever have us, if they need, bad guys to help fill out or, make their heroes look good too, have some, Philippines-Singapore interaction there. I think we're all clamoring for some international experience then. That's always a good thing to have as wrestlers, is experience working in other places and learning from other people by working with them.
Chris, your take on this one, traveling abroad to represent the Philippines?
Yes, I've had experience with traveling abroad to a couple of Southeast Asian countries and like Europe and Japan. It's a very different learning experience. You get immersed with all these cultures, all these wrestling styles, all these people, and you just get to, pick everyone's brains. You get to learn the world of wrestling, like in front of you. And the best thing about it is when you can take it home and just teach it to everyone in your country. And at the same time, you can show what homegrown Filipino pro wrestlers can do.
I have a question for all of you. You can all answer it one by one, or parang yung physique kasi ng Filipino, maliit lang tayo eh. Diba? If you look at the others, they're bigger, they're stockier. Diba? They lend themselves to looking like the latter-day gods inside that ring. Diba? So you guys, if like you, Chris, you're able to compete abroad, and then do you ever get the feeling like, shit, laki ng tao to. This is a big dude. Yeah. Then how do you overcome that and show that you actually have the talent to compete?
Well, the great thing about wrestling now, because it has evolved from, the 80s, the big guy, 6'5", huge muscle juiced guy, So wrestling has evolved from that. And now it just focuses more on the characters, more on the wrestling styles. Like there are guys in the UK who are the same size as me. They're guys bigger, but it's the wrestling and the story you tell inside the ring.
That's right. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Now I was gonna revert to Max. No, Max said he uses his height, yung kanyang build in heft to bully people, no, also. But are you looking to add any other skills that you can show? Diba? Like if you look at guys like The Undertaker, they also have all these high risk moves and all that. I'm not suggesting you put yourself in any danger, but are you also looking to add something to your ring skills, Max?
Yun nga, during the umpisa ng career ko as a wrestler, ayoko talaga maging big guy. So, ayun, nakita ko na parang medyo nag-innovate ako. So, I use some athletic moves. So, pero yun nga, luckily, medyo athletic naman ako na big guy. So, ayun, and mas nagamit ko yun, mas ginagamit ko sa ring yung pagiging athletic more than the big dude na nambubuli lang. So, nakakapulap ako ng mga moves na usually ginagawa ng mga cruiserweights or mga maliliit na tao. And yun parang medyo special na ginagawa ko for me.
Stan, sorry, medyo lumagpas ako sa'yo, no? Going back to the earlier question about competing abroad, excuse me, is there a possibility for MSG PWR making that happen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go off of what Sandata said. If they're gonna have us, I'd be happy to go along. But the reality of travel in the Southeast Asia region, at the very least, is that budget is limited. So if they're gonna be flying people over, it's usually the wrestlers na mauna. And I kind of accepted that the moment na I didn't even step inside the ring and train to be a wrestler. So if they're gonna go ahead and book MSG, I want them to go out there and get the exposure, get the experience, and then if I happen to have the money or the time to be on the same trip, then I'll happily join them. I'll happily piss people off in Singapore, Malaysia, or Vietnam, or wherever.
Well, let's hope that it happens real soon, no? Carlos Buenaventura has a question for all of you. Who are the heel wrestlers and managers that you look up to? Stan, since you're on screen, let's start with you.
Sure. Paul Heyman, for sure. Paul Heyman has been, with the best talker in wrestling for the last 15, 20 years. I love the way that he engages the camera and the crowd, the way that he talks and enunciates. And when he's in the ring, yung very outsized reactions niya, like it doesn't take away from the match, it actually adds to it. And that's something that I love. But I'm also a huge fan of Daniel Bryan. Like ever since he entered WWE in 2010, when he turned heel in 2018 after winning the WWE Championship, it was his heel work, the character work that I really watched a lot of, and that really helped shape the narrative of MSG. It was basically be a guy who's fighting for a good cause, but be an asshole about it. So like that's what Daniel Bryan did, and I was like, that's brilliant. Kasi we see that all around us. Like Sir Rick, I know you have kids, right? And when you're telling your kids to do things that they don't want to do, you know that you're doing it for their own good, but because they don't want to do it, or maybe they receive it in a manner na hindi nila gusto. So in their minds, you're the bad parent, right? So it's kind of like it's kind of like the same scenario, pero just twisted talaga. Now I will tell you that the reason why this country is this way is because it's your fault because you didn't vote in the last election. And I'll say it in such a snarky manner. Now you're gonna hate me for it, but you're gonna realize, yeah, he was right. Kasi hindi ako bumoto eh, hindi ako botante. So I am responsible for this.
Very interesting answer from Stan. Sandata, what's your take on that one? Sino yung wrestlers and heel managers that you look up to?
Right. So Stan and I share a lot of the same favorites. It's usually him and me who talk about the creative direction of MSG. So I would say some of his favorites are my favorites as well. Daniel Bryan, for that same reason he mentioned. I'm also going to go with CM Punk for also being one of those heels na may katwiran pero is an asshole about it. Also Eddie Guerrero for being a really convincing psychotic heel when he is able to, when he really embodies the heel character and the way he wrestles in the ring when he's a heel. I always watch that stuff and try to work like that because I don't want the crowd to like what I'm doing in the ring. I don't want them to get behind me or see that I'm cool or cheer something I do in the ring. I don't want them to do any of that. And when Eddie Guerrero is a heel and he's wrestling, that's what he comes off as.
All right, Chris, how about you? Your favorite heel wrestlers or even managers?
Of all time,
Yeah.
I really hated Triple H during 2003 when he had Evolution on his side.
Yeah.
Just the way that he was such a cowardly heel, and he just went through all my favorites like Shawn Michaels, Goldberg, Kane, and he had backup, and every time he had a match, back of your mind, you always say to yourself, he has something up his sleeve. And then when he does it, he wins, and I just hated him back then. And like Sandata said, CM Punk, because he's very outspoken and very relatable to the common people.
That's right.
Who are not a wrestler. And right now, I'm leaning towards Chris Jericho. He's been reinventing himself for years. He's been wrestling for 30 years? Is that correct?
Something like that. Yeah. Very interesting. Max, ikaw naman, sino yung favorite heel wrestlers mo or managers?
Ayun, given naman so manager is Paul Heyman, and right now si Jake the Snake Roberts sa AEW. Sobrang galing niya mag-promo ngayon. And for wrestlers, childhood favorite wrestler ko is Jeff Hardy. But right now, most likely mga favorite ko wrestler ko right now is mga athletic big guy like Jeff Cobb and Kevin Owens. And
Nice. We have a question from Mr. Anonymous over here. It's actually coming up on my messenger. He's asking all of you guys, what your parents think of your being in professional wrestling? Sandata, let's go with you first.
God, it's a good question. Really good question. When I first started wrestling, I didn't tell my parents at all. I knew that they would oppose it for sure, because we're out there getting hurt, right? Even though we're doing it right, we're still getting hurt out there. And when they found out eventually, because I had to go to China to wrestle, and I had to tell them I was going to China. Syempre, they were kind of betrayed that I didn't tell them sooner. But by that point, wala na silang magawa. Kasi I was already doing it for years, right? And I don't know if they're happy that I'm living my dream or whatever. But a part of them, I would say, a part of them don't want me to continue anymore. I'm sure if I ever decide to hang it up, they would be happy. But on the most part, they just let me do my thing as long as I get home safe and sound.
Let's pray for that to continue, Sandata. Stan, ikaw, your parents, what did they say? That you're managing a group of heels and you're stealing food from the fans in the stands?
I think my family got to see me perform naman several times, and then they all came as a whole for the first time nung homecoming last October. So they seem pretty happy. Like my mom and my sister were telling me how my dad was like a stage parent, taking videos every time I was out there doing my thing. So that was pretty cool. But there was a lot of apprehension, especially when PWR was new, because they were asking things like, my benefits ba? Or like, is there insurance? Are you going to be protected? And I was like, relax. I don't have to like wrestle or like get in the ring or whatever. So, everyone gets bumps and bruises at some point, even ako, even though I'm not a wrestler. So when those things happen, it's just really part of the performance. And I just try not to make a big deal out of it para rin hindi na sila mag-worry. I just, deal with it. So like, it's a bruise on my knee. Okay, whatever. It's a scratch. Okay, whatever.
Max, ikaw naman, ano sabi ng magulang mo sa iyong profesyon? At nangahataw ka ng mga sticks and kung ano-ano.
Ayan, hindi ko siya sinabi nung nag-i-start ako mag-wrestling. So hindi nila alam na nagre-wrestling ako. Parang alam nila siguro nagte-training, nag-gym, ganun. And yun, then one time may kakilala yung parents ko, nag-send ng video ko na nagre-wrestling. Ayun, doon lang. Tapos yun nga, yun nga, proud naman sila at the same time kinakabahan kasi yun nga, may malaki yung chance ng risk of injuries. Lalo na sa akin, especially na-injured na ako for marami ng beses ako na-injured during habang nagre-wrestling. So, nag-aalala pero alam ko naman sa sarili ko ngayon, doble ingat na lang talaga. Kaya, yun, support naman sila. Kaya, pero, lalo na yung mom ko, medyo nag-aalala lagi pag nagre-wrestling ako. Ayan.
How about you? Your parents' thoughts about you engaged in professional wrestling?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my internet connection.
No worries.
Anyway, well, my mom, my dad, they were very much against it. It took them a while to at least accept it, but in the long run, they saw that I really wanted it. I was happy with it. I was really working hard for it, like my entire life. This is what I really worked hard a lot. So eventually, they started supporting me, and genuinely, they were happy about what I've been doing with wrestling.
All right.
Yeah.
We have another question here from Carlito. I want to ask about your thoughts on Shad Gaspard and Hana Kimura's deaths. Thank you. Anyone want to answer that?
Yeah, it's just been a very unfortunate couple of days in wrestling. A week actually. They passed away within just a few days of one another. Yung kay Shad was really unfortunate because he was just out there trying to have a good time with his son, diba? Pero his last act was a heroic one. I'm seeing the tributes to him on social media from his friends in the industry who went out there, some memorial service and everything, and you could see from their accounts that he was probably a really good guy. So it's a very tragic passing. As for Hana Kimura, that one really hurt us a lot. I know as a PWR, a lot of us were fans of her, and we're really looking forward to an opportunity to bring her over. So I was actually at the last Stardom event with people in attendance, February 16. I was there in Tokyo, and Hana Kimura was on that card. I watched that event just to see her because I wanted to touch base, find a way to connect with her to bring her over to a PWR show. Obviously, that can't happen anymore, and it's really stupid because this didn't need to happen. The cyberbullying was so unnecessary, it's senseless, it's stupid. So there's a lot of anger about that situation,
Right. Any of you guys with kids already? Any among you, si MSG?
Si Max.
Yeah, it's Max.
Max. Okay, Max. Kanina someone asked about how your parents feel, or how do your kids feel watching you on sa ring?
I'm sorry, ano yung question?
Kanina may tanong, di ba, tungkol sa parents natin, kung anong tingin nila sa pagiging professional wrestler nyo. Ngayon, anong tingin ng mga anak mo? Are they old enough to understand that you're engaged in professional wrestling? Do they think that you're the coolest dad ever?
Hindi naman. Medyo bata pa naman kasi yung anak ko. So, medyo nagigets yung pagiging wrestler ko, pero at the same time, medyo ayoko rin siya na masyado na involved sa wrestling kasi baka maging violent sa school o ganun. Parang tamang pagtuturo lang din. So, yun nga, kinakausap ko na wag mong gagawin yan sa mga pinsan mo, sa mga kaklase mo na ginagawa ng daddy mo. Ayan.
All right. From Chana Silva, this is for Chris. He says that my son Louis says hi. Then thank you for celebrating my birthday in PWR. I miss PWR. So it's just more of a greeting from Chana Silva to you, Chris.
Yeah, Chana, what's up, man? I miss you guys. I miss seeing you at the shows.
All right.
Hope everything gets better and see each other again.
Right. We're down to our last 17-18 minutes of the show because everyone has something else to do. Let's push the envelope a little bit. Offline, before we started the broadcast, I asked you guys how how can PWR, we're not stepping on anyone's toes, forgive us for this question, but how would you, Kayo, in your own way, don't speak for PWR, don't. If you were to push and PWR to a non-pro wrestling audience, how would you do it? Because in my take, also not only as a journalist, but as a marketing person, you don't preach to the choir. You always try to find other new people so you can expand your fan base, you can expand your market, and thereby bring in new sponsors. So kayo, because for me, personally, I think PWR is a fantastic product. It's a fantastic show. There are a lot of relatable characters within PWR, and I think everyone's doing a great job. But how can we push the envelope? So that's my question. This is your own personal opinion. Do not speak for PWR. Let's make that very clear. Let's start with you, Chris. Or who wants to answer first? Stan, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So we've tried to get involved with celebrities and have them come to the shows or even be part of the shows. Like Panzer and I started working together in 2016 for that specific purpose because we were teaming up with Fox Sports. Tapos Casey Montero got involved in an angle. So it was Chris Panzer with me in his corner versus John Sebastian with Casey Montero in his corner in a big match at Revolution X, which is our version of WrestleMania. So it happened around 4 years ago to this day, or a week ago, 4 years ago. Ganun. Things like that, efforts like that to just get mainstream personalities involved, I think is a good way to go. Kasi if they're seeing someone like Casey Montero, ano ginagawa niya, associating with these wrestlers, let's check that out. Maybe it can spark their interest. That's the first thing that really comes to mind.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else want to volunteer and answer?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in. Jumping off of what Stan said, we shouldn't also just associate with mainstream celebrities, but also with mainstream or more mainstream events and occasions, if you will. Because I think the only people you would or people who would get converted to being PWR fans are people who come to the shows and watch it live and experience it for themselves. What PWR wrestling is like, right? Because otherwise, if you talk to them online, even when you show them videos, right? Even if you tell people what PWR is and what it's all about online, sometimes they won't believe. It just won't until they're right there in the flesh. And I've heard of some people who it was like that for. So I would partner up with more mainstream events, even events that have nothing to do with wrestling. I would partner up with those and get PWR in front of more eyes, just so people can have their own PWR experience and be converted to being a PWR fan.
Okay, before we hear from either Chris or even si Max, I have a suggestion. Just consider it lang. Yun lang pakiusap ko sa inyo. No? I also cover a lot of MMA. I write a lot about MMA. And I go overseas to cover MMA. And the reason why a lot of our MMA fighters get their asses kicked is because we don't have a solid wrestling base. We don't. It's not even taught in schools. You don't even have competitions for wrestling. So my point being, what if PWR, everyone is an alumnus of either you go to Ateneo, LaSalle, UP, UST, FU, wherever. What if we tap those connections and then why can't there be wrestling as a UAAP sport? You have guys growing up, I want to be in the WWE in the States, How cool would it be to have a kid in the grade school right now say, I want to be in PWR? So I think we have to build it in the grassroots. Fred Uitengso of Alaska asked me before, during a press conference for the triathlon, yung Ironman, when he first brought Ironman to the Philippines. And I asked Fred, the problem with triathlon, it's a rich man's sport. The only way the sport will grow is if you bring it to the masses. And he said, Rick, you've stumped me. I can't answer you. But that's a very interesting thing to think about and consider. So my point, I think we can really grow the sport if we reach out to the grassroots level. Get kids interested. Kasi ang hirap minsan sa Pinoy, they will compare right away to WWE. Parang sabihin, kulang sa moves, kulang sa bilis, kulang sa power. Di ba? Parang, dude, have you actually watched? So yun yung point ko. Maybe you can push it also. Grassroots lang, start something with wrestling clubs and all that. And before you know it, it could grow. Kasi, you know, then there's a probability that the parent of one of these kids might be working with GMA7, TV5, with Globe, with Smart, with San Miguel, and then say, oh, my kid's into wrestling. Di ba? Parang, wow. You never know, di ba? So yun lang, you might want to consider that. Di ba? All right, Chris, any thoughts about that? How you can grow PWR?
Yes, just jumping off to what Stan and Sandata said, it's more on, I mean, though that's also a good idea, but right now it's more on awareness because everyone just knows WWE, like a big chunk of the Filipino people. And then next is yung mga independent scenes like NJPW and, where else. So the good thing is we have celebs that we can work with. We have, I think we need more connections to, bigger brands to promote it. I'm not a real expert in this, but that's just my view. And also, there's also a good thing what we're doing is we're bringing in these big names like TJP, Jeff Cobb, Robbie Egos, who already have a fan base here. Kasi sa ngayon, ang daming sabi, may wrestling pala dito. Kahit ano sila, kahit mga NJPW fans, they still not aware of PWR. So, yeah.
Max, ikaw, meron ka bang idea kung how to help PWR? Opinion mo lang.
Ulitin ko lang din yung sinabi nila na yun nga, tingin ko kasi for Filipino fans, pag may mga Filipinos mahilig sa basketball and boxing lang. So, what ang ginagawa namin is to promote the wrestling in the Philippines. And yun nga, PWR has a really good social media team to promote sa mga hindi ganun casual na fans natin na para makilala yung pro wrestling in the Philippines na hindi lang sa WWE natatapos yung wrestling. Kumbaga may other options pa. Yeah.
Right. We're down to our last 10 minutes. We have two more questions. The second to the last question is, what has been the coolest ring moment for you so far? Doesn't have to be a win. It could be you getting pinned by someone, whatever. What is the coolest moment in the ring in PWR for you so far? Stan, let's start with you.
Yeah, sure. MSG All Belts coming to fruition. Kasi, I was also a fan of Evolution as a faction, and that brief moment na every member of Evolution had the championship, that immediately went into my head when MSG was formed as a whole, even with Carlos Zamora, our friend from Denmark, who's also part of the group. So siya yung parang MSG international guy namin. So like, having a moment where all four of them were holding championship belts and they were all standing on each corner or each turnbuckle, tapos andun ako sa gitna doing the MSG hand sign. Like, that's probably my favorite moment kasi eto na, like, this is the moment I've been envisioning since MSG came to be.
Sandata?
Okay, so if you're a wrestler, kasi usually you don't have a lot of space to mark out. You tend to mark out when someone you look up to works with you, right? So my favorite moment has to be getting thrown around by Jeff Cobb back at Homecoming, because this is a guy who is world famous, if you will. I would unarguably world famous. You've seen him on AEW, you've seen him on NJPW, Lucha Underground, or Ring of Honor. He's been around the world. People know this guy, and he's here working with us, deeming us worthy to be worked with, if you will. And just the fact that I get thrown around by one of the most popular guys in the world is saying something. That's something I could never replace.
That's something you don't hear every day. Hey, the coolest thing about it was I got thrown around by Jeff Cobb.
Yeah.
Max, ikaw, coolest ring moment.
Ayan, dalawa. Yung first, yung MSG All Belts kasi very special siya sa akin than winning the first championship ko with Sex kasi winning the tag team championship is more like a redemption for me kasi coming back from an injury and then parang regaining myself na to be 100%. And same with Sandata and being thrown out by Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb destroying MSG for like a minute. Sobrang special kasi first time ako maka-interact sa ring with an international wrestler and yun nga, so nung narinig ko na Jeff Cobb is coming here in the Philippines, sabi ko, kailangan mabalibag ako ni Jeff Cobb.
I can imagine yung asawa ni Max na sabi, natalo ka. Cool, no? Cool, natalo. Chris, your turn, man. Coolest moment.
Also being thrown around by Jeff Cobb. Kasi I don't know, it was at PWR Homecoming, the biggest spectacle so far in Philippine pro wrestling history. So, and at the same time, wrestling Jeff Cobb and having MSG there and getting our asses thrown around by Jeff Cobb, it was really a special moment.
There you go. That's the badge of honor for MSG, getting thrown around by Jeff Cobb. The last question before we wrap up our webinar with these guys. Ayan, lagay na natin. Sino gusto nyo makalaban sa ring? Whose ass do you want to kick inside the PWR ring? Let's start off with Stan. I know that you don't wrestle, but even so, I'm sure you want to kick someone's ass. Throw down the gauntlet, man.
I wanna come face to face with I don't know, like the really big talkers, like the promo game. Like we were supposed to get into a program with MTNH, the tag team of Frederick Mahaba and Ralphie Mabayashi, and I was really looking forward to shooting promos back to back and against them. That would have been a lot of fun. But the pandemic happened. Honestly, I'd like to go up against sympathizers of the of the administration in a promo battle. Just to say yeah, you're wrong and this is why. And like, bahala na kayo if you're gonna cheer me or boo me or whatever. Like, that's probably gonna be the biggest challenge for me. I'd love that.
Really cool. Sandata?
Okay, pinaka gusto kong makalaban. I want to get my ass kicked by Kenta. For sure, man. I love that guy and I want to learn so much from him.
Max?
Ayan, dream match siguro is one-on-one with Jeff Cobb. Parang gusto kong bumawi. Ganun, kasi binugbog niya kami. And since we're nasa tag team ako ngayon, I want to face some international tag teams like sa Singapore, the Horrors, or Thailand, the Bad Company. And local siguro, would like to face the women's of PWR like Gemerlin, Jay Serra. Yeah.
Ang takeaway ko kay Max dito, he's a sucker for pain, man. Chris, you.
Yeah.
I want to kick Evan Carlos' ass so bad. We were supposed to wrestle on March 22.
Well, it's gonna happen sometime down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we go, any messages to our frontliners out there who've been really carrying the torch for our country, in this time of pandemic? Any parting words or wishes to anyone, particularly yung frontliners natin? Stan, ikaw muna.
Yeah, sure. Before I get to the frontliners, I just want to say thanks for this opportunity kasi it's a big week pa rin for PWR. We've got PWR Homecoming being launched online and on demand by Sunday, May 31. So by then, Sunday afternoon, we'll have the links uploaded. So if you want to be able to catch it, in case you missed it last October, you can head over to the PWR page, facebook.com/PHWrestlingRevo, and you can sign up and buy the code so you can enjoy it and enjoy it from the comforts of your own home. Because that's all our frontliners would want, is for us to stay home. And I hate that we're slowly being asked to go out again when things are so unsure and probably unsafe right now. It's just going to make things worse for the frontliners. So I can't thank them enough kasi mahirap na nga yung ginagawa nila and the situation around us isn't making it any easier. So I hope you guys hang in there because you're doing us a great service.
Chris?
Also jumping off from Stan, PWR Homecoming, that's when MSG got thrown around by Jeff Cobb, by the way. That's PWR Homecoming. Everyone should see that.
Any parting words?
I'm thankful for all the frontliners kasi they're risking their lives, their families' lives kasi they're going home to their families, and you'll never know what happens outside. So I just wish that they stay strong, they remain vigilant, and just be safe and hope that this will get better.
Okay,
and thank you again.
The reason why I asked you to say something about the frontliners, people from Medical City are actually watching us live right now. Max, your turn. Max, any parting words before we call it a night?
Ayun, just want to thank din the frontliners, the nurses and the other frontliners for sacrificing their lives and during this pandemic. Stay strong, and also to promote then we have visit our page on PWR, and we have there a t-shirt now. All of the para mabibenta nun will go to the frontliners.
Sandata, we'll end with you.
Hey, I worry so much about the frontliners because I don't think they're getting all the support they need. I have a friend who's a frontliner. I think she's doing okay naman, but things could change and there's so much risk that they take on. So I hope that they stay strong. Thank you so much for your hard work in stopping COVID-19. We'll get through this together, even though we'll have to rely on each other.
Okay, so I want to thank the PWR people for helping with this, getting MSG on board. Jan, Rafa, thank you so much. MSG, thank you for this opportunity. Like I said, I'm a massive fan. And for all you out there, those watching right now on Facebook, we want to thank you. Panoorin nyo ulit. And you know what? A little MSG in your life never hurts. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sir Rick. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.